Welcome everyone to the Larsonland podcast. I'm your host, Sawyer Hill, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, Dylan Bradshaw. We come in here every single week and talk about all things involving the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series champion, Young Money Kyle Larson. 2 poles in a row for Kyle Larson in the NASCAR Cup Series last weekend at Richmond, this past weekend at Martinsville. Kind of 2 unexpected poles for Kyle. We haven't seen him qualify too well so far this season, but two big poles. And starting up front was important at Martinsville, as we said last week, Dylan. A second place finish on the day, but a good day for Hendrick Motorsports overall with a 1-2-3 finish for Byron, Larson, and Elliott.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, all in all, a great points day for Larson as well. Obviously fell short there at the end, but won stage one, came third in second stage, and like you just said, finished second. So great points day. Great day for Hendrick all in all. I mean, 1, 2, 3, that's crazy. Such a special day, such a special race. It definitely seemed like no other car had a shot. I mean, Hendrick car was winning the race. It was crazy. They had over 1,500 Hendrick employees and their families there to celebrate the occasion of a 40th anniversary. So just special and really cool to see 1, 2, 3. And I know he's kind of treated like a redheaded stepchild, but Bowman he did have an eighth place finish as well. So every car got in the top 10. That's a good day for the teams. And they battled Byron. He led 88 laps. Larson led 86. Elliott led 64. So those three guys, they really dominated the race, and ultimately were able to finish in 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and Larson would have had the most laps led if it wasn't for that overtime finish there, but narrowly Byron got that. But yeah, I mean just a like you said, a good day for Hendrick overall. You'll love to see them, at least one of the cars picking up the win on the 40th anniversary for Hendrick Motorsports. A big race for the company, but we obviously wish that it was Kyle. But there at the end of the race, I heard on Kyle's radio. I'm sure they were saying it probably to Chase Elliott too and William Byron, but they told Cliff came on the radio and told Kyle, like, just remember the goal, remember the team goal, the critical goal. And I think that all the drivers, I mean, even Chase Elliott, like, he has had a really big uphill battle to get back to this point where he was yesterday competing for this win. I mean, we talk about a year for Chase Elliott. Last year at Martinsville was his return from his injury that he faced early in the season, and from then to now, he hasn't won a single race. And for him to be up there competing for the win at Martinsville, it's got to be huge for him. And I know he wanted to win that race really bad, but was glad to see Hendrick just maintain it and not let somebody else steal the win there, especially with that overtime finish. That was definitely a scary turn of events. You saw Jeff Gordon on top of the pit box. I think he was on top of Kyle's pit box during the race, and he was pissed when that caution came out. And you kind of watch the race like that, and we've watched enough of these to like the point where we're like, you kind of you're expecting something like that to happen at the end, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was completely stressed up there, and it's not stress for Byron executing. It's stress because he knows someone else is going to do something to
Yeah.
jeopardize the outcome. But ultimately Byron he still got the win. It was huge. Elliott he did kind of race Byron a little hard there initially. He gave him that
Yeah.
little bump on that turn. So I think it's kind of expected, seeing as, like you just said, he's been in a huge drought. He hasn't been to victory lane since 2022. So I was not expecting him to just completely, go down, but you can't jeopardize, the 1, 2, 3 finish.
Yeah.
And I mean, those cars, they acted as, a buffer to, kind of block anyone behind. And that's kind of where we saw Hamlin's,
Ooh.
interesting pit call there at the end. They were playing on an opposite strategy from the Hendrick cars, and, hilarious enough, nobody followed behind him. Left, possible top 5 finish out in the rear view. Still came up in 11th, but there
Yeah.
just really wasn't, huge tire wear for them to make a huge difference. But he did say in his interview he's kind of expecting, like, 7, 8, 9 cars to follow behind him and take the pit. But it was kind of funny just seeing him, by himself going down pit road, and everyone else just stayed out. But no one really had, anything for the guys. I mean, they dominated most of the race. We did see Hamlin. He probably had, the next most speedy in stage two. He's pretty quick, and I think he got the stage two win, right?
Yeah, he won
Yeah.
stage two. That whole strategy thing there at the end, it really had me kind of thinking about it. I mean, obviously, from the Hendrick side of things, I think they had no choice but to keep all three cars out on the track. I know that they're not necessarily, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they are, kind of having a little bit of communication amongst each other and the teams. I don't really think a ton of that happens, but you kind of expected all three of them to stay out. But I really thought with Hamlin coming down pit road that he was going to bring some other guys with him. I mean, I know that's what they were banking on, and it obviously didn't happen. Like you said, was kind of funny to see, but really after the fact, once that happened, I kind of thought about it, and it's like the track position was so hard to come by in a race like that yesterday that anybody that was behind Hamlin basically looked at it as, hey, we're getting to pass one car. We're getting to pass somebody. They haven't passed anybody all day. So, him pitting is just a free spot for them because obviously, the fresh tires didn't make enough of a difference for him to even pass his way back up to finish fourth or fifth. I mean, like you said, he finished what, 11th?
Yep,
Yeah,
11th.
so the tire thing, I know everybody's been discussing it since Bristol. Everybody wants to see more tire wear, and I think that's definitely a possibility for a track like Martinsville. Maybe doing a different, bring a different tire compound in the fall, but more so than anything, we know that it's a problem with this next gen car. I mean, we've talked about it so much on these short track races, how it's been basically ruined Martinsville. I think Martinsville is starting to get a lot of hate as the track, more so than the car itself. I don't think anything's wrong with Martinsville. I think Martinsville is still the same track it's always been, but this car has just made it brutal to watch. If Kyle didn't start on the pole, I don't think he would have even finished in the top five. I mean, it was one of those races where Byron was really the only guy who was able to move up, and that's only because they had a really good pit strategy, a genius strategy to come a lap early over everybody else, and they were able to kind of get some tire heat earlier than everybody else on that final run. But besides that, really boring race.
Yeah, I mean, pit road was really, your only shot to kind of advance position, and
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of guys were just hoping for some errors. There was a handful of pit road incidents. I know Stenhouse and Elliott got tangled up one time. There was like a big contact between Bush and Gibbs, some speeding penalties. So you had that, of course, at Martinsville. But I mean, as far as the tires, I mean, I think the tires like we saw at Bristol would be good. They last 50 laps, but that's kind of just putting a band-aid on it almost like you're just bringing that. They need to put more horsepower in the cars. I mean, everyone's advocating for it. I don't see it happening, so I guess we kind of got to settle for seeing a tire that has more wear like we saw at Bristol. But I don't know. I mean, I think horsepower is kind of the root of the problem, and if you if you go and try to manipulate the car and try to like add things to the car that involves you know tons of testing, trying to add different parts like splitter and testing out different aerodynamics, which they've done,
And
and it's
it's
made
minute.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, it's made no difference at all. I mean, the guys in the off season, they change something and they send them out there to run at like Phoenix or whatever track to test, and they come back and they're like, I
It's the
see absolutely
same.
no difference whatsoever. So something bigger needs to happen. I don't know. I mean, I'm not, an engineer. I mean, I just from a fan's perspective, it seems horsepower is kind of the issue. But if they're not gonna, gravitate towards that, I do think the tires, like we saw at Bristol, they would be good at tracks like this.
Well, I mean, and ultimately too, I mean, I think that you bring up a good point about, we're not engineers and we don't know the specific answer to it and what can make it better, but the people that do are the teams, and the teams, they have a lot of smart people that they have ideas, and I think NASCAR needs to lean on these teams a little bit more as this next gen car develops and carries on into the coming years, because those are the smartest people in our sport. The engineers that work for these teams, they know what can make better racing, make the cars go faster, and do the things that fans want to see the cars do on track. So I mean, I think that's the direction that NASCAR needs to head with that. The other thing at Martinsville is the shifting. I mean, the shifting has made it really, I think that's been probably the biggest factor at Martinsville, that we haven't seen that in the past. But guys can just grab a gear coming off the turn and get really good drive off, and even if they make a mistake in the turn. So that stuff is all stuff that needs to be looked at with Martinsville, and also with it being such a pivotal race at the end of the season, the race before the Final Four at this track where there you can't pass. There's a lot of serious problems going on at Martinsville with this car, and it sucks to not see anything change for what it's been 2 years now, and we're still watching the same product on track.
Yeah, I mean, you have a bad qualifying day and you're done. I mean, there's literally no coming back from that. Especially in the playoffs. I mean, you just have one mistake in qualifying or your car's just not quick, something's wrong with it. You're screwed. I mean, there goes playoffs for you pretty much. So, I don't know. I would hate to see a track like Martinsville lose a date on the schedule because we kind of talked about it last week. That's kind of a topic of discussion, taking away Martinsville. It sucks that it's to the point where the tracks are kind of being blamed because, I mean, Martinsville was one of the most exciting tracks, in the old gen cars. So, um, you know, the next gen has just been so poor on road courses and in the short tracks. And you really, the only decent race that you see on it are the intermediate tracks. So, I don't know. Something needs to change. We bicker about it on and on every single week. We see these short tracks and the road courses come up,
Yeah.
but I mean, there's nothing we can do but complain about it until NASCAR finally listens. I mean, the drivers are complaining about it. Everyone's complaining about it. I don't know why they don't try to make a change, but I don't know. I guess we'll see as we go forward. Hopefully, as they change something in the fall Martinsville race, we'll see. But same old boring Martinsville race that we have seen with the next gen car.
Speaking of mile and a half tracks, the good races with the next gen car, we head to Texas with the NASCAR Cup Series this weekend. A good racetrack for Kyle Larson. You know, we hope that the 5 team has been knocking on the door of a win the past 2 weeks at Richmond and at Martinsville. We saw Kyle's good run there last year in the fall, kind of spoiled. That was we were talking about it before the show. William Byron's picking up the 300th win for Hendrick Motorsports there at Texas. But Kyle was the fastest car that day. Should have won that race, and I expect nothing different on the race this weekend. I mean, it's a good track. The mile and a halves have been really good to Kyle since he's been with Hendrick Motorsports. And you look at the wins in the next gen car. Byron, what is Byron? I think I saw it earlier today. Byron has 11, and then Larson with 8. The 2 leaders in the next gen car with wins. Byron's kind of gotten lucky on a couple wins this year. Got lucky a couple times last year. I think it could easily be even up there if we look at that. But I think Larson takes one and picks up the win this week at Texas.
Yeah, I mean he's got the momentum. The team's just firing on all cylinders. I mean he's the points leader. Have came in contention, came close for these wins this year, but I think the team's just going to keep on going, keep it moving, and just to be up there up front, getting points. I mean you can't really ask for
Yeah.
much more. I mean it could be worse. You could be fighting for 20th place or like we've seen in the previous years, having just an outrageous number of DNFs, not even finishing the races. So. The fact he's up there competing and he's qualifying well these past 2 weeks. Hopefully, we get to see another good qualifying session heading into Texas, and I think that'll kind of set the board and how he'll be in the race.
Yeah, and the other important thing for Kyle and the 5 team is the stage wins. I mean, they have they've won 4 stages this year. Obviously, he swept the stages at Vegas, but Byron with 3 wins hasn't won a single stage yet this year. So he sits with 15 playoff points, 5 apiece for each win. But Kyle sits at 9 playoff points with the 1 win and the 4 stages. So kind of big to get some stage wins. I think that stuff definitely does matter as it gets going in the season, and obviously being the regular season points leader is huge. Knowing the bonus points that pays going into the playoffs if he were to end up the regular season champion. So I think the 5 team looks really good at this point in the season. For Kyle, outside of NASCAR, finally going to get to see some dirt stuff. We're going to have to wait a couple more days now because tomorrow night's race at Riverside postponed to April 23rd. Lots of severe weather in the area there in West Memphis, but looking forward to that race still. Going to be on April 23rd now with High Limit. Going to actually be the second race of the Midweek Money Series now following Red Dirt Raceway. But still a busy week for Kyle. We've got the Indy 500 Open tests on Wednesday and Thursday. Looking at the weather there, shows rain both days. So that's, to be expected. But Wednesday, it looks like they might be able to get it in. Thursday, right now, looks to be probably a wash completely. But then the High Limit Sprint Car Series picks back up on Friday night and Saturday at Texarkana 67 Speedway and the dirt track at Texas. Exciting week for Kyle. Lots of racing. Dylan, what are you looking most forward to?
Yeah, I'm looking forward. I mean, obviously the Indy test, so, kind of see how he performs there with other cars on track. But I kind of mentioned it last week that Texarkana Speedway, never heard of it before until they announced the high limit. So I have, zero idea how it races or what it even looks like. I
Yeah.
don't even know the length of the track. So I think that's going to be, a good race to see. I mean, how's the weather on that? Do you know about the weather on
Yeah.
that race?
Well, I mean, it does not show any rain for Friday for that race or for at Texas the entire weekend, really. But I think my concern with Texarkana is the amount of rain that they're probably getting on, tomorrow and Wednesday to begin the week. So kind of monitoring that to make sure that a lot of these tracks, they take a lot of water on like that. They may be, if they get too much rain over the course of 2 or 3 days, they'll cancel a show for Friday if the track's not going to be in good enough conditions. Even too, if the pit area is not in good enough conditions, if the pits are flooded and the haulers can't get in there, then that's big time problems too. But I'm looking forward to that one. Like you said, I don't know anything about that track either, but just excited to see the 57 back out there. Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, it's been long awaited. We were looking forward to Riverside and opened social media the other day and saw that was pushed back. So taking a long time, but we're approaching it soon and starting the Indy Open test. We're just Indy 500s right around the corner as well. So
Yeah.
some really exciting racing coming up for Kyle. It's going to be a busy next 2 months for sure. So yeah, I mean, really looking forward to it. Lots of racing. Hopefully, it picks up that dirt track win at Texas too. That's going to be a cool one. Night before the NASCAR race. So that's going to be a cool race to win.
Yeah, and I did see last week Brent Marks did run with with like Power Eye there at Texas. I think they had a 2 day show this past weekend, and I'm pretty sure I know he won one of the nights. He might have won both, but it looked like tire wear was a serious concern there at the dirt track at Texas. I know that's been a talking point at that track for a while, and gonna see how that plays out, but hopefully a little bit better track conditions there for the High Limit show this Saturday night. Kyle gonna be obviously pulling double duty on Saturday. He's gonna have Cup Series practice and qualifying at Texas, right, and then right outside of the Speedway, the dirt track at Texas is gonna be with the High Limit Series. So looking forward to that. The Indy Open test on Wednesday and Thursday, that'll be streamed live on Peacock for anybody that wants to watch that. It's pretty much an all day affair. So Wednesday, I think it runs from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then on Thursday, it's from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So if you're not working, then I guess that's good and you get to watch it. But if you have a job, then it's gonna be hard to watch if you're a Larson fan.
I mean, it's pretty long. I mean, those are some long hours for it
Yeah,
to
I
be
know.
running. So,
Imagine NASCAR having like a whole day for testing. I mean, that's just some pretty amazing stuff. Yeah, so gonna be interesting to see what Kyle does. I'm sure there's gonna be lots of clips and stuff on social media. I know I'll be checking it out and tuning in any chance I get.
yeah, we'll have to post whatever we can. Hopefully we get some good. I mean, I'm sure we'll get some footage this time because I remember the
Yeah.
last time he was in the car, it was kind of just kind of questions in the air. No one really knew what was going on until it ended. So, hopefully we get some good footage, some good interviews, and get some clips and some knowledge from him about how everything's going as we prepare for the Indy 500 next month, and hopefully all goes well for him there.
Absolutely. So, wrapping up the show with our usual Kyle Larson race of the week. This week's random Kyle Larson race of the week comes from November 23rd, 2021. Actually, in a 360 sprint car wrenched by Paul Silva at Merced Speedway. Larson ran double duty that night with the USAC National Midget Series, piloting his own midget, which he actually failed to qualify for the main event that night due to mechanical issues on that side. But on the sprint car side, Kyle started fourth in the feature, taking the lead early on, going on to take home the race win. In addition to the win, Kyle picked up the new track record at Merced in a sprint car. So a good night for Kyle there. I remember that race like it was yesterday, but there is no video. I can't find any video on YouTube or anything to link in the description of the YouTube version of the podcast. So you're just gonna have to take my word for it on that one. But I think that should pretty much wrap up today's show.
Yeah, that should be it. Appreciate all the support as always from everyone across all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Appreciate all the support there as always. For anyone that doesn't follow any of those, that's where we post all the weekly posts that we have. Upcoming events, schedules, race days, stats at track. So any listeners of the podcast, if you don't follow any of the social media platforms, definitely check it out. That's where you'll see, most of the info that we kind of talk about on this podcast week for week. But, other than that, we'll see everyone in the next video.
Absolutely. Thanks everybody for tuning in and listening to today's show. If you're watching on YouTube, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please follow our podcast so you never miss a thing. Have a great rest of the week, everyone, and we will see you in the next episode.